Hi, welcome to episode 136 of the PassionKnit Spinner podcast. My name is Tracy. You can find me at Schnüffeltier on Ravelry and Instagram. There is a Ravelry group for the podcast where I post like very compressed show notes. And thank you so much for being here. What I'm wearing is also the thing for knitting in the past. And I debated a very long time if I should wear it and if I should show it off. That's the words. Because I'm wearing the Moredimo, and it's a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. And the last few weeks have been a bit problematic. And the weekend was kind of a volcano of problems regarding her and her behavior. So I don't really know how to deal with things like this. I made this. I started it months ago. This is out of Holstgarn Coast, which is a lace weight yarn, and out of Saidana from Junghans, which is also a lace weight yarn. So I've knit on this forever. It took me a long time, and I enjoyed knitting this. And now I'm not quite sure how to deal with this because, I finished it last week and I showed it off on Instagram and I was so happy, and then boof, things happened. I still really like it, So I read a few months ago, actually, on someone's Instagram that they will not get rid of the sweaters they made from people who have been problematic, or I'm not sure if that's the right word, It's not the sweater's fault. It's not the yarn's fault. And I like this. And the thing is, I do believe, and I also read this on Anne from Little Skeins Instagram today, and I agree with her. I do believe that Caitlin Hunter is a good person. I also believe that she reacted very badly. And the thing is, I'm a white woman, So I see a lot of myself in the way she reacted, because I, as a white girl, I'd rather run and hide and wait for things to be over or smooth down until I stick my head back out, because I hate confrontation, especially if I'm the one who, sparked the problem in the first place. And that's just not how things work, It's not how things work. And I have been like this forever. So training or learning to not react the way I would usually do is not easy, but it's doable if you want to do it. And I'm pretty sure that that is exactly what is happening, And I do hope that she will find a way to make amends, to apologize, to make things right again. And yeah, I'm not sure if I can say anything else than that. It's a bad situation for everyone, because people are hurt all over, and wherever you look, people are being hurt and still getting hurt. And I don't feel equipped to say anything, because this whole conversation, I have problems understanding. And I mean that not by I'm stupid, it's actual understanding, because I'm not a native English speaker, and I don't live in a country that is an English speaking country. So a lot of the things I actually just don't understand because of my language barrier. And I'm really trying hard to understand and to educate myself, but I'm pretty sure that I do things that are questionable. And I'm sure that I say things that have a double meaning that I don't know of. So if that is the case, please let me know, because I don't want to be an asshole. Really don't. And it's very possible that I don't know when I say something awful, if it has a double meaning. Otherwise, if you know me, you should know that I say the things mostly exactly the way I mean them. So I rarely say things where I imply words into my other words that I'm not speaking. Does that make sense to you? It does make sense to me. So yeah, I'm not sure what to do with this. I made this beautiful sweater. It's a very lightweight summer sweater because the yarns are cotton blend and a silk blend. So, you know, I really look forward to this sweater, and now I'm sad. And I debated not wearing it and just, you know, just put a blanket on and wait for things to cool down. But that is exactly what's happening, and that's not what should be happening. And I'm just, yeah, I don't know what else to say. So I'm going to continue with the rest of the podcast. Now the sun is going away and it's getting really dark in here. I had to block the sun out on all windows, but yeah, okay. Let's just talk about the other things I have done, shall we? I finished a pair of socks. It's this pair of socks, and this is not me getting back to knitting. Just, you know, it's not a let's forget about all of this, go back to knitting thing. It's more a I don't know what I can do about it right now, so I'm going to do what I know how to do, and that is show you the things that I made in my knitting podcast. So I finished these socks. They're shorty socks. They are dirty. Why are they dirty? They are a Christmas gift for my sister. I knit these on US 2s. That's a 2.75 millimeter needle. I use Clover bamboos, which are one of my favorites for socks because I know they're super blunt, but for sock knitting, I really like that because with the blunt needles, I tend to not split if I knit without looking. So I really enjoy these. The yarn that I used is Regia Extra Twist Merino. It is this yarn. I do need a new camera. It has to happen. So I had 250-gram skeins to begin with, and I have this much left. And I actually hope I can knit a second pair with the colors switched around, you know, knit the sock in this and cuffs and toes with this, and give that to my other sister, because I have two sisters and I think it would be kind of cool to give them opposite attract socks. So we will see. These are a German size 37, which is teeny tiny, and that is what my sister has. So yeah, first Christmas gift is done, and that does make me very happy, you know, because I tend to start early with my Christmas shopping and Christmas giving. Not giving, not the giving part. No, the giving part takes place on Christmas. Making, that's what I wanted to say. Because I just hate having to do all of the things in December. So I usually start when school starts, which happened last week. And I just, you know, get a few things here and there and accumulate stuff over a couple of months, because that's just makes more sense to me and it is easier for me to do. So these are the two things that I have done. For knitting in the present, I have also two things on my needles. The first thing lives in this rather unpretty project box, because it is the Marled Mania. No, not Marled Mania. Marled Magic Sweater by Stephen West. And it uses lots and lots of leftover bits and pieces of yarn. And, you know, so I can see everything I have. I put it in here and knit from there. So this is what my sweater looks like so far. It doesn't look remotely like a sweater yet, but it is a sweater. It's going to be a sweater. I am using sock yarn scraps and a white creamish yarn throughout. So I'm using this yarn that I bought years ago. It's Drops Alpaca. And you know how I stand with Drops and their policies regarding designs. But I've had this yarn in my stash for a while, and I bought it especially for this sweater. So I have a few skeins of this color. And also this week I bought 2 skeins of Lana Grossa Silk Hair, which is a mohair and silk yarn. Because if I only use alpaca and sock yarn scraps, this is going to stretch out and just be super saggy. But the mohair and silk will give it a bit of structure. So I bought 2 skeins and I have that on this yarn roller thingy. And yeah, so this is my box of yarn. I also have 2 skeins of this yarn here, which is Elegance, Surrey alpaca and a merino wool that my husband bought 100 years ago in Sydney. So these 2 skeins that I have, I will use those to knit all the cuffs, the ribbing, the hem, whatever there is on this sweater. I will use this yarn for that. So yeah, that's the sweater. I'm on section 2. I finished section 1, which is this mesh section here. Looks like this, lots and lots of holes. And I'm now doing a seed stitch section. And yeah, I really enjoy this. It's you know, it's a Stephen West pattern. I really like his patterns. I like the style of his things. And this is one of those projects where when one thing starts to get really boring, you know, because this mesh, not the most exciting thing to knit. And when I just thought of to myself, like, when will this end? It was over. So I'm now doing something else. And I'm sure if when this starts to get boring, there's something new that's going to happen. I only have a black and white picture of it and not a very good one. So I'm going to show you the one on the pattern page or the front page. It's this sweater minus all the ends dangling down because that is not what I want. I'm going to weave in all the ends. And yeah, that is it. That's the sweater I'm working on. I'm on section 2 of a million, so it's going to take a while, but I really enjoy the process. I just wish I had something prettier to show in, but you know, I wanted to have something where I can see everything I have at once. So that's the one thing. The other thing is the next Christmas gift, and it is the Montrealer by Designs by Dells. And it is in this project bag that I made a few years ago and that I've only used so far for sweater projects for my husband because I need lots of yarn for those. And I mean, this is very full. I do need a lot of yarn for those. So I am using, let me show you the pattern picture. Where is it? Here it is. I'm knitting this sweater. It is a hoodie with a kangaroo pocket in the front, you know, just a normal hoodie. I am knitting that for my husband, and I'm knitting one for my son as well because there's a mini Montrealer and they will get matching sweaters for Christmas. And I'm still at the non-stripy part of the sweater, but I'm also on the second skein of yarn. So I'm using this yarn, which is Rowan Fine Art Aran Weight. It's the same yarn that I used for my So Day cardigan. And I am that far. I'm like 3/4 done with the raglan. And there is, as you can see, other ends. So I really like how this is working out. You know, the slightly variegated gray. And then I have 4 different colors for the stripes because that's the yarn that I had in my stash. And, you know, it's kind of a goal of mine to use things that I have. So yeah, I think this is going to be amazing. I'm only knitting on this when my husband's not here. And this is going to be challenging because he doesn't have any work trips scheduled for the next 6 weeks or so. So yeah, I have to get all the times when he, you know, does grocery shopping or whatever, when he's out of the house, I have to work on this project because that's going to take forever. You know, he's a very big guy. And I mean that he is super tall, like super tall. He is very tall. He's about 5 inches taller than me. And he used to be a swimmer, so he has very broad shoulders. And, you know, that has to be covered somehow. So, yeah, it's going to take a while. Now, both of these I'm knitting on 5mm needles. That's an US 8. Okay, knitting in the future. I am going to cast on my project for the BIPOC Make-Along. And I decided to do a cowl by Aroha Knits, and that is Françoise Danois. And yeah, I have the yarn ready. I just need to wind the skein. And I'm going to start that maybe today, maybe tomorrow. but I want to start it this week for sure. And then I want to take out another started thing that's on my needles. And I'm leaning towards the window to my Soul cardigan by Joji Locatelli. Because I have done, I'm about here on a top-down cardigan. So, you know, and it has short sleeves. So it's not a whole lot to do. And I think I want to work on that. Spinning. I have finished my pinkish combo spin. So I'm gonna need this later. And I'm not gonna need those either. So in here are all the finished bobbins for my 2 combo spins that I spun over the course of the last 6 weeks or so. And so I finished 4 bobbins worth of singles for combo spin number 2, the pinkish one. And the funny thing is, in there is electric blue and some really bright oranges, and you can't see any of those. I used 4 braids of fiber and 2 packs of mini tiddly bits, whatever they are called, from hedgehog fibers. So let's see. Well, here they are. These are my 4 bobbins. Sorry for the fingers poking through, but I can't do it differently. Yeah, they're finished. I'm leaning, I think this is going to be like a DK weight when I ply it. And I really want to ply this week. So yeah, combo spin number 2, all spun. I just need to ply. And I need to ply the other one as well. So I really just should sit down for a few days and ply this stuff. That is all I have done for spinning. I really want to start my next combo spin, but I want to spin that on the rows, and I have a lace weight that I'm spinning on the rows right now. And I fear that if I just, you know, take it off and attach a new bobbin, I will never finish it. So I make myself finish that one first. Okay, new stuff. I have a tiny bit of new stuff. I have 2 skeins of yarn from my friend Sandra from Kunterbunte Wolle. I have this one here that I am going to use for socks. I think maybe it's going to be a gift. I don't know yet. And I have this one because I thought that this one would be a very nice neutral to use in shawls. You know, if I do like a 2 or 3 color shawl, this would be a very nice but not super boring neutral to use. So I have these 2 skeins from Sandra. And then I have 2 braids of fiber from my friend Barbara from Almrauschwolle. And they are both turquoisey blue, which is absolutely not my color. But I have spun a green mini combo spin. I have done a red and a yellow where I just plied 2 different braids together. And now I have this blue, and I'm kind of leaning towards asking her to dye a purple for me as well, and then knit something like the Vivid Blanket by Tin Can Knits out of it. Out of all these handspun yarns. So this is the first braid. It is, I have no idea what it is. I'm going to say it is something like a Corriedale with super bright nylon in it. It is very nice. It's shiny. And the other one is this one. And that has either bamboo or silk or tencel or something like that in it. I have no idea what these are. They didn't come with a tag and I didn't ask because I forgot. So yeah, I'm going to spin these onto 2 separate bobbins and then just ply them together. And yeah, then I will have, you know, a blue to add to the yellow, red, and green I already have. And then, yeah, I think I do need a purple as well. And then do a Vivid Blanket or a blanket of similar making. I don't know yet. So these are from Almrauschwolle, and she does offer a advent calendar, a fiber advent calendar. So if you go on Instagram and search for Almrauschwolle and then you go on her Etsy shop, you can get a beautiful advent calendar with fiber from her. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be very much worth it because her fiber is amazing. So that's what I have for new stuff. Reading, listening, watching. I finished a book and I've started a new one. I finished Der Teufel im Detail by Felicity Green. I just have to find the screenshot of the what is it? The cover. I read most of my books lately on my Kindle, so I can knit while I read. And I read this book here, Der Teufel im Detail by Felicity Green. And because I cannot show you an actual book, I go on Goodreads and I take a screenshot of the cover and I show you that. So it was okay. It was a good book, but it's not something you have to read. You know, it was okay. I'm not even sure what I should tell you about it because nothing really happened. I mean, that's not true. It's a book about a circle of witches that operate in the Scottish Highlands. And that's the first case where they are involved. And the series is like a 5-book series, and every book is centered around a different witch. And I just read the first of those, which centered more around another character than the actual witches. I'm not making any sense, is right? Yeah. If you're interested in a lighthearted, fun read, that's a good thing for you to read. Now, that was that. For what? Wait, book I started. I started a new book. I started this book. It's by James Patterson, Die zweite Chance. It's in English. It's also called Second Chance. And it is a women's murder club mystery book. It's the second one in the series because, you know, they are all numbered in the title, which is genius because I always have problems finding out the right order of books to read them in. Not with those. This is a book that centers around a police lieutenant called Lindsay Boxer. And she has 3 friends. They're all female. Wait, one is an attorney, a journalist, and what's the other one? The coroner, maybe? And they work together. You know, they talk about the case because they're all involved somehow. And they talk about it and then, you know, help each other out. It's a really nice book. I mean, it's a mystery. It's an adult mystery. So it's not super nice, but it's a very good book. I have read the first one in the series and I really liked it. And now I started the second one. So, listening. I finished The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. That's the first one. I don't think I need to say anything about The Lord of the Rings, do I? It's one of my absolute favorite books ever. And I started The Two Towers, which is the second book in the trilogy. And yesterday, September 15th, was the 50th anniversary of Lord of the Rings being released in German. So, yeah, just things I know, you know, because I love The Lord of the Rings. And also I get a little newspaper called the Tolkien Times that are put out by the publishers who published The Lord of the Rings initially and still publish it today. And it's about everything Tolkien and new releases in high fantasy and stuff. So yeah, I'm a nerd. What can I say? So that's what I'm listening to. And for watching, I started rewatching one of my all-time favorite series. And I brought season 2 because season 1 is upstairs and I was too lazy to get it. I started rewatching Chuck. And I actually watched the first season over the weekend, and then my husband came home yesterday and we started from the beginning because it's been a long time since we watched these and we both love them, and so we started again. So I'm rewatching season 1 2 days after I finished it, so we can then continue on together. If you don't know Chuck, you should. It is a very fun show. It's about Chuck here. He gets an email from an old frenemy of his, and he opens the email and somehow absorbs a very secret computer program that all of the intelligence agencies in America have put together. And his old frenemy destroyed the actual computer, so the only version that's still left is that one encoded in his brain. So yeah, it is getting chaotic after that, but very funny. So you should check it out. Chuck is just amazing. And also, it's Zachary Levi, you know, I like him. Okay, so that's what I'm watching. For sewing, I do have three things to show to you. The first thing was a custom order of my husband. He came downstairs and said, you know what? I need you to make something for me. He's like, okay, what do you need? Yeah, I need a trap for my keyboard, for my computer keyboard, so that it is safe and nothing can happen to it when I'm away. So he brought me his keyboard. I measured everything. I did some math, and I hope my math would be right, because, you know, it should be just like a sleeve, not too big, so it cannot move inside. And I managed. I made a sleeve for the keyboard, and it looks like this. The fabric is actually fabric that my husband bought for me for especially this occasion. And now, you know, I said already, I do need a new camera. So this is it. This is the keyboard back that I made for my husband out of keyboard printed fabric. And I used this obnoxiously orange zipper because when he has this in his rucksack, he will see this zipper and he knows exactly where to put his hand to get it out. I did the zipper so it will stand out on each side so I don't get the bulk in here. And also so it will open wider and the whole thing will actually fit in, because there's not a whole lot of wiggle room, which is exactly what we wanted to have. So he has a cable in here as well, but there's no more room for anything else. So yeah, I made this. I made it basically like a very long boxed project bag, and it worked out wonderfully. So yeah, keyboard bag for the husband, special ordered, is done. And then I made things for my son. So when he comes down in my room, he kept picking up a fabric, the same fabric over and over, and he carried it all around the house and played with it. And then I said, you know what, just give it to me. I'm going to make you something. And he has worn this. So this is a bit dirty. It needs to go in the wash, but I wanted to show off. I made this t-shirt, and the astronaut print I used already to make a sweater for him. So he now has a sweater and the t-shirt. I used up everything except for a strip like this wide that was left after I cut the front and the back for this t-shirt. And for the neckline and the sleeves, I had to use a different fabric. And also this was really tiny leftover and I used up everything. So yeah, I made this t-shirt. It's the same pattern that I have used for all the t-shirts I made for him lately. And it is from an October magazine. So yeah, that's a t-shirt. Nothing special. Super easy, super quick. But the next thing I made, very proud of that one. I made a soft shell jacket for Tim. A few years ago, actually, I got 2 large leftover pieces of soft shell from a friend in the mail. And I used these 2 and I used up everything. I have pieces this big left, that's all. And I used a pattern from Farbenmix, which is a German pattern company. And this is the jacket I made. It's called Quinn. It's a soft shell jacket for boys. Although I'm not quite sure what does it make especially for boys. Not sure. It says boys soft shell jacket. So yeah, I made this jacket and it turned out great. So I'm going to show you. I'm really proud of this. This is what it looks like. And I'm going to explain to you a few things about this jacket. So this is it. This is the front. I attached my logo down here, or my label. This is the back. And then there's a hood also. So what I did for this jacket, my son is very tall for his age, but very slim. So what I did is I cut the space that I needed for the length. And then I thought to myself, but if I add seam allowance, this is going to be super wide. So I cut everything without seam allowance. And then I started assembling the back. And I realized that, you know, the back yoke doesn't fit onto the back because it was just this much wider on each side. And then I realized that the whole no adding seam allowance is not a bad idea, but also won't work with the yoke in the end because, you know, if it's just too small in the bottom. So I added this stripe here, and I had to piece this together. So there's a seam here. And the same thing happened in the front because these small bits next to the zipper, they should not be there. I had to attach those because otherwise it wouldn't have worked. And I also had to attach small zipper strips at the hood. But I actually think that it just made it better in the end to have the prints in here because the back otherwise would have been plain gray, and now it has this fun strip down. This was a lot of fun to make. It really was. So the zipper, my son picked out the zipper. I showed him the fabric at home, and then we went to the local fabric shop and he picked out this zipper, and I said, okay, if that's what you want, we're gonna go with that. I would have gone for green. I really am happy that I just let him pick because I think this is the perfect zipper. And yeah, it's longer in the back, as you can see. So, you know, when he just bends over, it still protects his back. I'm really happy with this. Sewing with soft shell is super easy because, you know, it doesn't crinkle. If you lay it on top of each other, it just stays that way. But you cannot put pins in, which I learned after I cut everything and pinned everything together, of course. And for the sewing part, I then knew that I couldn't use pins and just use these wonder clip thingies. I did not do one thing. It should have pockets, zipper pockets in here in this seam. And I decided to not do those because he's not going to use them anyways. And, you know, why go through the trouble of making them if they are just going to be not used in the end? And the cool thing is, I'm going to show you something. This is magic fabric. So my son hopes that it will rain every time he wears his new jacket because, oh, come on, camera. I know you're dying, but please let me do this. Okay. So I brought my water bottle and a leftover piece of the soft shell. So you can see it's just a gray, plain, super boring fabric. And then when it gets wet, it gets this super fun pirate pattern to it. And as soon as it dries, the pattern goes away again. So it's magic fabric, and Tim is over the moon with his magic fabric jacket. This is the coolest thing ever. I have no idea where you can get this because, like I said, it was leftovers that I received from someone else. But yeah, this is what it looks like if it gets wet. So this is just a very cool thing. I am really proud of it. Really proud. I think this is one of the best things I made. And yeah, just turned out amazing. So also soft shell can't fray, so you don't have to do all the cleaning up on the insides. So what I did instead was I put stuff together and then I made a second stitching row to stitch down the seam allowances on the inside, so it looks like this on the inside. Can you see? And I did not trim this down to make it look nice because I was afraid to cut into things I shouldn't be cutting into. But yeah, this makes me so happy because it was a lot of work and it turned out so great. So good. Okay. That is all the things I have made and I have done and I have to show. For everything else, the next VKN is on September 28th. That is a Saturday. It's going to be at 9 p.m. German time, Berlin time. That's GMT +1 plus data savings, whatever. So yeah, just Google it, please. I don't know. When we are out of daylight savings, it's going to be a bit easier again. Then the other thing, the baby cat still is here. It's been 3 weeks now. He is going to stay with us. His name is Loki. And he is in a playful mood, you know. Just look at my hand. I look like this on both hands and arms up into the elbows, my thighs, my belly, everything is scratched. This morning he got me on my pinky. It's really, really painful because every time I bend it, it just stretches open. Yeah. We went to the vet and he was dewormed and he is going to get his first vaccines in 2 weeks. So we are taking good care of him and he's still here. He loves being here. And my neighbor, who's the actual or former owner, still hasn't come over to claim him. The thing is, I'm not sure if I talked about this last time. If I did, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about it again. He came over to my house for about 2 weeks every day. And every day I would either carry him back home or she would somehow realize that he's not at home and come get him. And the last time he came over was 3 weeks ago, today, 3 weeks ago. And I said to myself, you know what? It's her cat. She should come and get him. And she hasn't. And she knows that he's here because she has picked him up here like 8 times and I carried him over 3 times. So she knows exactly where he is. You know, it's not that, and even if she didn't know where he is, if she were looking for him, she would have come by and asked me, and she didn't. So I'm guessing that she's not all that interested in her cat, and he's going to stay with us. So that's the cat. And then I talked about the whole sweater thing in the beginning. So I'm going to talk about something else now. When we were at the vet, at the vet, they have these huge scales where you have to walk your dog on so you can weigh the dog before you then go into the vet. I stepped on that one because the scales that live in my house ran out of battery last November and we haven't changed them yet for a very good reason. And when I stepped on the vet dog scale, I saw the number and I was shocked because it was way more than I expected. And I fell in a very deep hole, very, very deep. I felt so just, fat and ugly and unworthy and everything. And then I thought about this because up until I stepped on those stupid scales, I have felt so good. I felt great. I felt finally like I'm starting to be at peace with my body and like I finally accepted who I am now and instead of chasing who I was 15 years ago. And I ruined that for myself by stepping on a scale. And it just made me sad and depressed and mad and everything at once because how can a scale that shows you a number have so much power over how you feel? It was a very bad mistake. It was a mistake to step on those scales. Really, I shouldn't have done it. And when I came home, I really thought about putting batteries into my scales again and then try to lose weight and get back to a number that I was more comfortable with. And then I thought to myself, but what for? What for? So that other people can say, oh, you lost weight, you look great? Or, is it really for me to feel better? And then a friend of mine was here on the weekend and we talked about this. He's a male friend of mine and we've known each other forever and we know each other very well. And I said, I'm a healthy person, I mean, isn't that enough to be happy? There's nothing wrong with my body except for maybe 10 kilos more than there should be. And we talked about that and we agreed that being healthy is the important bit and not a number on a scale. But yeah, let me tell you, that number freaked me out for a few days. And I cannot believe how much power that has over me. It's just so weird. It is so freaking weird. But yeah, that's just, that was hard, really hard, a hard lesson to learn. But I have still not changed the batteries on my own scales, and I will not do that. Because what did someone comment on my Instagram? Scales are there to weigh yarn and fiber and ingredients for baking, and not people. And I agree. I'm just, yeah, it made me sad. And I don't want to do that to myself on a daily basis anymore, because I used to step on the scales in the morning and in the evening to make sure that I didn't gain anything. And it's just not how life is, you know. I don't want to be a person who obsesses over their weight and forgets everything else that's important in life. And I know that if I get the scales back on and working, I will be exactly that person. And I don't want to be that person. So yeah, I will not be that person, because I will avoid becoming that person at all costs. So yeah. Oh, and on that note, there was a video, or not a video. James Corden, who does the Late Late Show on some network, he did a monologue thing about fat shaming, because Bill Maher, who is another late night talk show host person, he said something like, fat shaming has gone out of style and he wants to bring it back. And James Corden, who is not a slim person, he talked about that. And if you have like 7 or 8 minutes time, you should go on YouTube and find it. Find that clip. James Corden on fat shaming, I think is the title, and watch it, please. If you are someone who fat shames other people, just go and watch this video, please. Thank you. Good. I think that is it. I am done for this week. I hopefully will be back next week if I have stuff to show. But I mean, it's Monday, so next week I'm gonna be back next week. Probably at the end of next week. And until then, I hope you all have a wonderful time. Enjoy the last days of summer or first days of fall, and enjoy everything you do. Bye.